All right. So just to start, you're the people that people probably most identify with because you're like them. They watch the show, so they kind of feel like they're experts, and you're not an expert, but you've been immersed in it for 8 years. So.
I think I've made it apparently obvious that I'm not an expert. As a matter of fact, that's been my goal since day one. But it's funny you say that because I always talk about the first day when I met with Marcia Bemko and the producers about being the host, and what I said was, you have the greatest experts. You don't need another expert. But what I always think the job of the hostess on TV is to be sort of the proxy of the audience, and so curious student is sort of the role that I've assumed, and it's been awesome. So, you know, I'm still learning.
In 8 years, do you think you are a quasi-expert in any regard now?
Oh, by no means an expert in any field whatsoever, and that's something I always tell people is that you have to understand that our appraisers, what they know can't be learned in one generation even. It's not like something you study for 5 years and now you're an authority. These are often the children of or the grandchildren of collectors or experts. And it's not to say you couldn't crunch and learn stuff, you know, and become an expert, but these people, their knowledge can't even be understood in you know, in a lifetime's amount. So I'm good at dinner parties, so I can make a comment that sounds like I know. It's like going up to the piano and playing like one little riff, and it sounds like you know how to play the piano. That's about the level I've come to. So I guess what I've learned is the deep respect for the amount of knowledge.
What is it like to be watching all of these people who come in and they have such hope on their faces that their little whatever or big whatever is going to have some terrific value?
Well, you have to put it in perspective, and for the viewer, and hopefully through this special they'll get a better idea of this, is that you have to look at the big picture. So the people you see on the air, we shoot maybe 80, 90, 100 people at max in any given city. But we have almost 6,000 people come. So for the majority of people who come to Antiques Roadshow, it is truly the journey and not the destination. They're having more fun in line next to the people talking about their stuff and just being at the show that they feel they have ownership in. The bonus is if you've got something valuable. The bonus is if you make it on TV. That's the big pipe dream. So, you know, pipe dream number one is my item special enough to be shot for TV? Pipe dream number two, am I rich? And for, you know, 98% of the people who come, neither of those are coming true. So, but what I'll say to you is overwhelmingly, everyone who comes are very much on the same page for the experience. It's really just about being there and being part of the process, sharing some stories, hanging out, and I'm one of them. So it's awesome.
This is your 8th season. Is there something fundamental about why you love doing the show, why you love being a part of it and being the host?
Well, I've been in television for now 25 years or so. I've done all kinds of TV and all mostly commercial television as opposed to public television. So what I always tell people is that while this appears to be a television show and a very successful one, for us it's like summer camp. It's not like production as I know it. Certainly it is in the professional sense. The best people working at the best jobs at the best of their ability. But the vibe is, there's a layer of ownership by everybody who's involved that sort of transcends what you would see people in the rest of the industry who just do this for a living. The esteem with which people hold the show and their participation, even in the smallest role to the largest role, is why the show's special. And I think that speaks to public television in general when the mission is beyond simply ratings, and the mission is entertainment but education first. You find that great professionals with wealth of information and knowledge give generously beyond what your normal talent would do on a television show. So that vibe permeates and overwhelms the experience for me.
What is that experience like? Because I can tell from my little modicum of well-knownness here in Boston, you get a very particular type of person who is a PBS audience and a PBS fan who comes up to you. I mean, what sort of engagement do you have with your fans?
Well, first of all, shocked to find out that that particular audience is pretty broad when it comes to Antiques Roadshow. I get people, I play basketball with a bunch of guys, you know, pickup game at the Y, and they watch Roadshow. And of course, you know, I get lots of grandmas who watch Roadshow, but it's all kinds of people. But I recently wrote a little piece that was in the Huffington Post, and only because I know somebody at the Huffington Post is how I got in there. But what I said was, I've been on TV for, you know, 20 some odd years now in different shows. And since I've been on Roadshow, my interaction with people has changed significantly. So instead of in the airport when somebody recognizes you, as you're well aware around Boston, instead of them going, hey, I'm Mr. Walberg, can I get an autograph, can I take a picture? They come up to me and talk to me as though we have already had a conversation and we're in the middle of it. And they literally walk up and go, I have this watch, how much do you think? And then we begin. And I was saying earlier today to somebody that to me is the barometer of I take that as a high compliment and a barometer of effectiveness. Because as a host, as opposed to an actor, the job is to connect. And if people feel comfortable enough to come up and hug you rather than shake your hand and talk to you as though you're already in the middle of a conversation, to me that says I'm hitting my marks at some degree. So I'm grateful for those experiences.
Speaking of your career, what is it like to have something that includes Temptation Island and Antiques Roadshow? I mean, it's sort of a little bit split personality.
That's, you know what that is? That's called range. You know, I started working at Dick Clark Productions, and he recently has passed away, and I'm actually working very closely with his widow. I hate to say widow, I just say wife, because I don't feel like he's really left. He sort of keeps talking to me a little bit. But I started with the idea that I wouldn't be on camera. I was going to work in production, and because I was a little later starting in this career at 24 and already married, I better hurry. And I started working at Dick Clark Productions to learn it. And over the years, I've been lucky enough to work in almost every aspect of television, specifically unscripted television, not so much acting. And I've learned great things from all parts of it. And while the content of some shows, Temptation Island and Truth, some of them are controversial and crazy and something I wouldn't watch, I've always taken on the challenge of saying whatever it is, there's got to be a human connection. There's got to be some humanity, even in the most scandalous, controversial things. And so I've always said, you know, in my role, production or host, regardless of the show, regardless of the content, I have to find where the pulse of the viewer is and what is truthful and human and authentic about it, which ironically is something I'm now learning more about by being in Antiques Roadshow. Because here we deal with objects that are authentic, and it's all about authentication. And for me, that's more than a metaphor. It really is that things are more valuable when they're authentic. So I feel like people who've seen me on TV really don't care what show it's from because they know me. And that means I've been me. And if I've tried to be a version of me for Temptation Island that's different than the version of me on Antiques Roadshow, then we've screwed that up, haven't we? So I just try to, you know, play the one role I know, which is this guy, and regardless of what the format is.
Do you find as you travel from city to city that they have different characters? I mean, I can only imagine what you and everybody else would assume coming into Boston, which is a city so rich in history. Not that any other city isn't, but...
No, but birth of the revolution. I mean, there's a lot happened in Boston. We're in the old State House. A couple pretty big names hung out here. So I would say that each city has a definite flavor and vibe. That's for sure. And their role in history is different. You know, Tulsa is different than Boston. From the artifact standpoint, at the actual event, because my experience is a little different than the event because we're in places like this. But from the what people bring in aspect, there's little difference between cities. Stuff travels. So with this West County, you know, he's a big star. He just comes in, just throwing his weight around.
He doesn't care that you're talking.
It's all right. It's okay. So, you know, you'll find Revolutionary War furniture in Hawaii, and you'll find Hawaiian quilts in Boston. So from that end, you can be in North Dakota or Boston and you get a great sampling of stuff. From my experience, where we go to different locations, the flavor, the stamp of the city is as unique as a snowflake. And so, and that's really, when people ask me what are the favorite things you've seen, they expect me to say this watch or that painting, and it's not. It's, you know, moments like this and others that are my collection.
Are there moments though where you look down that line and you look at somebody and you think, really, you brought that, really?
More often than not, there are items that are like, dude, there's like 15 of those right behind you, you know, and I own one. But I think people who get tickets, some of them have items they really are hoping for. But most people have stuff that they care about. And so if you tell them it's worth 40 bucks and they paid 50 bucks, it's not the end of the world because value, this is the thing. Value is subjective, okay? What you think is valuable and what one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's legitimate. Certainly there is a market value, and great appraisers like Wes Cowan, who walks in the middle of my interviews, can tell you those values as they trend and change. But even that is not the value. The value is the owner's feeling, and that can't be quantified. So I don't think there's a lot of disappointment. I think there are a few, you know, in the line you'll find people who are adamantly sure that what they have is worth more than they're told, and they get a little grumbly about that, and often the appraisers have to go, okay, well, good luck, go sell it and find it. But for the most part, people are just happy to show you what they have, and almost they're more interested in telling you what they know rather than hearing what you know. Because what we have are items that, out of context, have value, subjective, financial, whatever. But in context, have a specific connection to the family that brought it in. And that's living history. And that's why Antiques Roadshow rates in 17 years on here.
And that said, you've talked a lot about the personal in this interview, and you said it's not necessarily when people ask you your favorite moment, it's not about the piece, but is there a favorite moment in terms of a resonance that you saw, or an interaction, or something that happened to somebody that was more personal?
Well, on the show, there are lots of those moments. There are moments, because you got to remember that people are bringing things in that mean something because of the person who's possibly dead that gave that to them. And this meaningless piece of glass or this chunk of wood that has certain etchings or makes it into a table is not about it being a table at all. It is a tactile and tangible representation of a part of their heart that's no longer on the planet. Okay, I'm kind of being a little bit romantic, but I'm understating it, not overstating it. And that's why we hold the show with such importance, because that's what history is. History is not, in 1822, this happened here. History is, and that happening that was around this table affected my family and my people in this significant way, and that's what I have as representation of the connectedness, the tree of generations. And that's really very special. And I'm really grateful to be part of it, even though I own nothing connected to any tree of any kind. It's all plastic in my house, plastic.
And finally, I know that you're going to be doing, as you always do, one of your field shoots here. Tell us what you're going to be doing.
Well, I hope I get this right, but so Boston Massacre happened right outside these doors. And Wes, I'm waiting for Wes to tell me if I'm blowing this or getting it right, but that piece of propaganda, actually, the representation of that in the famous print by Paul Revere, is to some degree propaganda, because what happened in that day was very similar to what we see, you know, with trials that are going on even currently. And now I think I'm also going to learn that print that Paul Revere is credited for was actually a friend of the family's print that he kind of said, let me do this, I've got some notoriety, I think we can make some noise with this. So you know, this is part of me being a student, so I'm going to learn the details of what I've just butchered in telling the story. But at least I'm in the right place to do it, right? And this won't be graded, will it? This isn't graded?
No, there's no judgment here.
Well, I think there's plenty of judgment. Let's not lie.
Right here. I think that's it. Is there anything I'm missing?
No, that was great. That was really good.
Right? Perfect.
Thank you.